Hi, I'm Micah Judge here. We're going to take you now to West Columbia, South Carolina, where Governor Henry McMaster and other officials have an update on the tropical storm threat and ongoing state of emergency there. Let's listen in.
And a time to uproot, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend. We can infer from these words, Lord, that you give us the ability to choose how we respond to life situations. With the uncertainty of this storm's path, it is a time to prepare. Keep us from complacency and help us remain vigilant as we pray for the best and prepare for the worst. I pray all this in your mighty and precious name, Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. He's exactly right. Pray and hope for the best and prepare for the worst, and the time to prepare is now, and not when the wind's blowing and the rain is falling down and things are getting shoved around. We remember Helene as 1 year ago today, and we remember that it did not go exactly where it was expected to go, and it produced results and damages that many people had not seen before, particularly in the up part of this state and all along the west side. We had pecan trees, groves knocked flat. I'd never seen that before. I suppose most people have not. But also at downtown Greenville, they had big oaks going down, taking down all the electrical wiring, and we couldn't get in there to clean it up because of that electrical wiring tangled up with all those limbs of those trees. It was really something we hadn't seen, but the people in North Carolina, particularly around Asheville, hadn't seen anything like that either. So you never know how bad it's going to be. This one does not look as strong as it looked yesterday. That could change tonight. Tomorrow it could be much stronger, could change direction, because with the most sophisticated instruments, we cannot prepare for exactly what is going to happen, so we have to prepare for it all. And in all that uncertainty, the only thing that is certain for sure is that your South Carolina team, representatives of most of whom you see here before you, are ready. We've been through it before. We know how to do it. I issued the declaration yesterday, emergency declaration, to allow us. We've already begun putting people in equipment in place, helicopters, aerial resources, people on the highways. The counties are ready. The counties have informed us that they do not believe that we need an evacuation order, a mandatory order, and we agree with that. And so we have no intention of issuing such an order. But don't be misled. That does not mean that you might have big waves. We know that we're going to have high winds. We know that we're going to have a lot of water. We know that we're going to have flooding in parts of the state, maybe some parts that we haven't seen before. But the good news is that the storm probably will stay out in the ocean. But still, a lot of rain, strong winds, and serious flooding is going to happen, and it could happen way up in the Midlands. We don't know where it's going to go. You remember in 2017 with Florence, we had a storm came in that parked over part of the state in North Carolina, and we had water coming down we'd not seen before. And Helene again went to a part of the state that had not seen a hurricane before. That could happen again. We don't think it will, but we hope it does not. That executive order that I issued yesterday cut the red tape. What does that do? That allows all of our equipment, all of our agencies, all of our services to go on and start getting ready ahead of time. We're expecting the federal government to cooperate with us 100%. And again, we do not think that we will have any mandatory. We're not counting on that at all. But I'll leave you with this before we start hearing from Team South Carolina, and that is your neighborhood may have things that you have not seen before. So go ahead and be prepared. Put your important papers to where you can reach them, your pills, your medicines, all of those kind of things. Get prepared for what might happen to your animals. Call your If you're going to move someplace else, not going to be where you usually are, tell your friends, family where you're going to be in case someone needs to get in touch with you. And whatever you do, we know we're going to have a lot of rain. Don't drive through standing water. Even if the winds are not strong, that water is always going to be deeper than you think, and we lose a lot of people to drowning. Don't drown, turn around. Don't go through that water. It is pitiful, the deaths that we have had in this state from people who mistakenly, unnecessarily, without caution, drive through standing water they think is only a few inches or maybe a foot deep. Turns out it's deeper than that. Turns out the motor conks out. Then here comes the flash flood, and you have someone maybe on the phone in their vehicle calling for help. None can come, and they drown right there in the vehicle. We've seen that right here in our state. So be careful, be prepared, and the time to prepare is now. And first part of our team will be John Quirello, and I failed to introduce Holly May. Holly, glad to see you again, and your assistant, Larissa Martin. Glad to have you here as well. Thank you. John?
Thank you, Governor. As you mentioned, today is the anniversary of Hurricane Helene, and all of us in the National Weather Service continue to think about all the people that have suffered some loss from the storm a year ago today. Here to say this is going to be a different storm, different impacts in different areas, but we still need to be prepared, like the Governor was mentioning. Currently, Tropical Depression 9 continues to become better organized and is likely to become Tropical Storm Imelda.
All right, we were just listening to South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster, who addressed the public after he issued that executive order for his state yesterday following the multiple tropical storm threats that are pending and likely to affect his state. Now, you heard him there initially start talking about Hurricane Helene, which was just 1 year ago today, which produced an unseen amount of damage, according to the governor. He was reminiscing about the extensive damage done to neighborhoods and people's property, and he talked about how this emergency declaration essentially helps his state to prepare in advance. He said there are helicopters that are ready to go, people that are set up on highways ready to respond if necessary. He also said that he has no intention of issuing an evacuation order for his state right now. He said that the people looking into us say that right now is not really necessary to take that grand step, but he did say that things can change. We heard the governor talk about the executive order which he put in place, how it helped essentially cut the red tape, which allows his state agencies to work with federal, state and local agencies, cutting that red tape, allowing them to access federal funds, and also allowing his state to essentially work with federal funds, making sure that the door is open for FEMA beforehand instead of waiting for the damage and so on and so forth to happen to his state afterwards. Let's bring in meteorologist Jeff Banson, who's been tracking this storm threat for quite some time now. Jeff, you heard what Governor Henry McMaster just said. What are we looking like in terms of the actual threat that's affecting South Carolina and the rest of the East Coast right now?
Yeah, well, all good stuff from the governor, right? Even though we may be looking at a better scenario to not let your guard down, to take the proper precautions, because things can change on a dime, as we've seen all too often in the wide world of weather, right? It certainly doesn't look like evacuations would be warranted at this point. Again, because of the good news that we've gotten out of the National Hurricane Center this morning. By the way, some new information into the Weather Center. Hurricane hunters en route to Tropical Depression 9 down in the lower Bahamas here, bringing a lot of rain to the eastern part of Cuba as well. So they're going to be flying through that storm, trying to get a better gauge on the inner workings of it. But again, the forecast is still for this to strengthen as it moves over the Bahamas. Tropical storm first, could become a hurricane, right? Yeah, it would be a Category 1, probably somewhere in the order of Tuesday morning there, winds 75 miles per hour. It's just off the coast of Savannah at that point. This is the time where the storm is beginning to slow down, and the slower this storm goes, I'll tell you right now, the slower the storm goes, the better chance this is going to have to move off to the east. And I'll tell you why in just a second here. But even with this storm sitting here, meandering here, not making a direct landfall, you're going to get those indirect impacts, right? The waves just lashing against the shoreline, some coastal flooding. You'll get some rain, you'll get some wind, but it won't be as high, of course, if the storm center stays offshore. So we've got a large influencing area of high pressure off to the north. The slower this storm goes, the more time this high will have to work its way down and sort of steer it. I mean, there's really not a lot of steering winds around the storm right now, and that's why the uncertainty is so high. Umberto out here, it is getting steered around the Bermuda High. So this is a very good confidence forecast track here. Now, the other thing that we have to take into account, depending on how strong these storms are, how close they get to one another, you could actually get a little bit of a tug on potential Imelda, and that could further help it to work further east and out to sea. Talked about this before with Morgan. She knew it was called the Fujiwara effect. It's how these two tropical systems in close proximity to one another interact with each other. That's sort of scenario one with that effect, where one tugs on the other. There are some cases where we've seen a strong and a weak system, and the stronger storm absorbs the other storm. It doesn't look like that's going to happen this time, again, because Imelda is expected to become a stronger storm. Regardless of exactly the track here, you are, again, looking at damaging wind gusts possible right along the Florida coast up to Savannah, Georgia in the time frame of late Sunday through midweek. Heavy rainfall, especially along with the stationary front that you have here, sort of gets juiced up with all this moisture coming in here, so that could lead to some localized flooding. And then we work our attention north here. Again, the Carolinas. It was really looking, I don't mince words here, it was looking like a pretty dire situation over the last 48 hours. It made me think back to Harvey in Houston and the Texas Galveston area, where that storm just hit a wall of high pressure, stalled out, and dumped all the rain. I mean, this would have been a terrible scenario if this storm were to come, say, 50, 75 miles closer to the coast, because then you would have the storm not exactly weakening, continuing to bring in all of that onshore flow. You can see the wind barbs here coming out of the east-northeast, just pushing all that water into the Outer Banks, all the way down to Myrtle Beach and Charleston. You know, we could be talking about 48 to 72 hours of that. That's going to give substantial flooding. So we are still keeping an eye on that possibility, regardless of whether the storm winds up here, you're still going to get those indirect effects. And again, that last line there, I just can't stress that enough. Depending on the track and depending on the strength, we could be talking about varying degrees of wind and storm surge. We're going to have much more on this situation as we go over the next couple of days, because again, with the storm slowing down now, we've kind of shifted the time frame of when we're zeroing in. Initially, it was looking like tonight, tomorrow, into early Tuesday. Now, Wednesday into Thursday, potentially as well.
All right, Jeff Banton, thank you for keeping us updated. We're going to continue to bring you updates on this developing story right here on ABC News Live throughout the day. Thank you for joining us.